To 10.3 Composite Functions. The word composite is related to the word compose. Composite functions are about nesting one function inside of another function. So it's a function of a function. This relates to pages 499 to 506 in your textbook. In the first example, we're going to be using f of x, which is x squared plus 1, and g of x, which is equal to 2x minus 3. We'd like to evaluate the composite function of f of g of 2. So inside of function f is function g, and we're going to evaluate function g at 2 first of all. So before we start this, let's just remind ourselves just kind of how functions work. So if I look over here at f of x is equal to x squared plus 1, whatever I put here shows up over here. So you can think of the function as, okay, if I take an x and I plug it into my function f, so here's my function f, what comes out? X squared plus 1. So if I put something into f, that something gets squared and 1's added to it. So let's say, for example, if I plugged a 4, right? So if I took a 4 and I put it into f, what comes out is 4 squared plus 1. So whatever is here, whatever I plug into here, that I'll replace in my x over there. Okay. Same thing for g of x. If I plug in, g, let's do something crazy. I don't know, yellow bus. What comes out are 2 yellow buses minus 3. So whatever I put in here shows up there. Okay. Now let's think about this evaluation of this composite function. So start from the inside. Start with the g of 2. So in other words, I'm going to start with a 2, and that's going to go into my g function. And then something comes out. So this something comes out, and that something goes into my f function. And then I'll get my answer. So let's try it out. If I put a 2 in, I'm going to erase here so I can get a little bit of, if I can work a little bit better. So if I plug in into g here a 2, that's going to be 2 times 2 minus 3, so that's equal to 1. So what comes out? A 1. Now that 1 is going to go into my f function. So looking over here, f at 1 is going to be equal to 1 squared plus 1. So that's what's going to come out? A 2. All right. So this is my little diagram to explain it mentally. If you want to think about a way to show your work, you can start with f of g of 2, and then below that you can say, well, once I've evaluated this 2, my answer was 1. So I can say that's equal to that, and our next line, that's equal to 2. So that's one way to do it. Okay. Note, we could also find f of g of x and then substitute x equals 2. So this one's a little bit more harder because we're going to keep all the x's, and at the very end we're going to substitute a 2. So let's start again, and maybe what I'll do is I'll rewrite. Okay, I've got f of x is equal to x squared plus 1, and I've got g of x is equal to 2x minus 3. And what we want to do, here, I'll just scroll down a little bit. We want to start from the inside again. So if we start from the inside, this is g of x. We're going to plug this into our f. So in other words, we're going to take not g of x, we're going to replace g of x with 2x minus 3. So f of x, instead of x inside of here, we're going to put g of x. And g of x is equal to 2x minus 3. Okay, does that make sense? So here, this is f of g of x is the same thing as f of 2x minus 3 is equal to. Now, following along this, everywhere where I saw x, that gets squared. So now, instead of an x, I'm going to write 2x minus 3. So I write 2x minus 3 all squared plus 1. Now, when I calculate that, 2x minus 3 all squared, well, here, if we write it out like this, and then if we use FOIL, 2x times 2x is 4x squared, 2x times minus 3 is minus 6x, minus 3 times 2x, minus 6x again, plus 9, plus 1. And then we'll put together our linear terms, so we get 4x squared minus 12x plus 10. So if we think about this as two different steps that we had to do, where first of all find this, so that's step number 1, so that would be maybe the first part of the question, and then step number 2 is to substitute x equals 2. Then we could say at f of g of x is equal to, we just found this out, I'll write it out one more time. So f of g at 2 is equal to, now I'm going to put a 2 in there. And I hope that it comes out to the same answer that we had before, which was, what was our answer when we plugged in a 2? Oh yeah, from the previous question. I'm hoping that we get a 2 out of all this. So when I do this, 2 squared is 4, times 4 is 16, minus 24, plus 10. I find it easier to put together the positive numbers first, so the 16 and the 10 together is 26, minus 24 equals 2. So yay, these two numbers are samesies, aren't they? So that worked out well. Now it says write an equation for g of x. Okay, so g of x is equal to 2x minus 3. So remember what I said before, start with the inner function and then plug that into the outer function. So the inner function is g of x, so the g of x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this inside g of x with 2x minus 3. Okay, so we could even say, g of x is equal to that. So this is like, here's our question, and here's our first answer. Now if I plug that 2x minus 3, considering my original g of x, if I plug a 2x minus 3 into everywhere I see an x, I'm going to get equals 2 times 2x minus 3 minus 3. So when I distribute this 2, I get a 4x minus 6 minus 3. So here is a 4x minus 9. So there's our answer.